Hello, everyone. Welcome to the finale of The Vulnerable. And today, well, it's the ninth episode of the series, and it's the last one, which means it's been really fun talking to different people each week, which is quite funny because it hasn't been each week. We like me and Kimmy didn't just sit down. Oh, look, an episode's going out next week. We're going to sit down this week and speak to this person. It kind of didn't work that way. Otherwise, it would be too complicated. So I think we started recording earlier this year, around I can't remember what month it was. I think it might have been February, around that time. And yeah, and it's been really fun. So today, me and Kimberly are joined by Kassay and Tye, who will both in an episode of the series. And yeah, it's going to be really cool because we're going to kind of mix it up about what we're talking about today, as well as kind of catching up. Because Cassie and Ty, I don't think I've seen each other before, so unless you have some top secret that I don't know about. But yeah, so Kimberly, if you start off with your introduction.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kimberly, also known as your self-love sister, here on Instagram and YouTube. And I was so happy to make two new friends because I think Ty, I have followed you on Instagram, but Cassie was my first time meeting you, and it was such a pleasure. I love talking to both of you. I'm so excited for this finale.
Yeah, it's finales are kind of cool. Um, because well, they're not. They can be sad as well because you kind of end the series there. But kind of we can kind of overview it and see what everyone thinks. So, Cassie, I'll start with you. Only because you're next on my screen. Blame Zoom, Ty. um, but Cassie, if you do your introduction.
Hi, my name's Cassandra. People call me Cassie for short. Uh, I like to focus in on just the fact that people with chronic conditions are vulnerable to misdiagnosis and often need help with advocacy and even dealing with gaslighting within the medical community.
Yeah, well, I think that's really important because that side of thing doesn't really get talked about much. Um, so yeah, well, thanks, Hattie, for coming back. Because I know you. I think it was your first time, wasn't it? Your first podcast last time.
Yeah.
Well, you could say this is your second time, but on the same podcast. Um, but thanks, Hattie. Ty, would you mind doing your introduction?
Yeah, definitely. Well, my name's Ty Martin, and I live with muscular dystrophy, which is, kind of obviously chronic and disability both kind of together. So, anything that I can visit with or discuss on, disability and the range of factors and, challenges involved with that, I'm definitely happy to do so. And I definitely can relate to what Cassie was saying on the diagnosis part because I actually thought I knew my diagnosis until about a year ago. So, now I'm trying to pinpoint exactly which form of MD it is. So that's kind of, yeah, that's where I'm at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's quite hard, isn't it, to get diagnosed with anything nowadays. Like sometimes it can take. It's surprising if it takes really short amount of time because it takes everyone's different, isn't it? When you get diagnosed with all these different things.
Right, definitely.
Yeah. Um. So I guess let's start off with fun. Well, I'm not saying what we talk about isn't fun, but I'll start a bit different. So let's talk about. Let's all say what we've been up to since we last spoke. So time, I think Ty, it was only a couple of weeks ago. I spoke to Ty. Um, Kimberly was probably a couple of weeks ago as well. So I'm not going to go in no particular order. I'm just going to say whoever wants to go first. So just maybe what you've been up to recently. It doesn't have to be advocacy. It could be I've walked your dog, which you probably have. What has everyone been up to these last few weeks? Kimberly?
Okay, so for me, it was advocacy and an influencer vet. I went to um gosh, I went with Patients Rising to Washington, D.C. to advocate for like disability laws. And that was super, super fun. And then a few weeks ago, I got invited by a brand called Corona to do like they invited influencers to come talk about their new drug and stuff. So that was really fun. That was actually in San Francisco. That was my first time going. So
Oh,
it was really fun. As far as that, Mason, my foot is still healing.
that's good.
It's been like 2 years, but I just got to a point where I'm just like, well, I can walk. I just have to wear like a cast. So I'm like, I'm not gonna let it stop me from living anymore. So like I take my dogs on a walk, I go to the grocery store with my mom. It's fun things. But yeah, that's what I've been kind of up to.
You've been busy. Um, it's good to keep busy. Um, Cassandra or Ty, who wants to go first?
I went
I,
first last time. Let's do Ty. Yeah.
we can
Okay,
switch it
okay,
up this
Ty.
time. All right,
Ty, you go
I'll do that.
first.
Yeah, so yeah, I've been, continuing the online, social media endeavors and things. I'm trying to, to bring awareness to disability and MD and some of the, the human factors too that we all share, regardless of disability or not. So I've been doing quite a bit of work with that still. And in the meantime, moving. So I basically moved 20 hours east of where I was. So I was in New Mexico, and I moved out to Tennessee. So it's been, 2 weeks of heavy moving and getting all settled and figuring out like where the accessible places are here and what's what other things I can get involved with. So it's been a bit of a process with all the packing and everything.
Yeah, because I know we said we were to arrange it around now, so because I think your time zone changed, didn't it?
Yeah.
From
Yep.
where you are now.
Yeah, thank goodness I you put in all of the different time zones you did, because it was
Yeah.
easy to adjust.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even know. I must be good to know all those different time zones. I'm going on Google, checking what the difference is between that time zone and this time zone. Um, but yeah, it just saved me making everyone work out what their time zone is to mine. Which I'm having to
Definitely.
count. I have to be good at maths to count the numbers.
Well, what's funny is Tennessee actually has Eastern and Central time in the same state. So like you can drive 15 minutes one way and be in a different time zone, in the same state. So it's a whole other challenge.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? All these different time zones.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because like the only time zone in the UK would be if I went abroad somewhere, like a different country. That's the difference, like between like America, that you just go to a different place. It's a different time.
Yeah.
Um, it must be quite crazy to say, "Oh, I'm going over here. It's just turned 3 o'clock. Hang on, and now it's going to be at 10 o'clock in the morning or something." It might be
Exactly.
things like that.
Yeah, like, and you have to catch yourself for like restaurant reservations and everything. It's like, am I definitely in Eastern or Central? It's crazy.
Yeah. So, what is the difference between where you were, Ty, and now? Like the time difference?
So where I was in Mountain before, and now I'm in Central. So basically an hour later than what I was before. But then my sister and her husband, they live 15 minutes away. So obviously they got the eastern side. So we live close, but we're still an hour off of the times.
It's not too bad. It's not too bad. But thanks, Ty. It seems you got up to quite a lot since we last spoke. Cassie, what about you? You been up to much?
Yeah, so I was contacted by somebody who was making, I guess, some kind of documentary or article for Slate.com, and they were talking about how bipolar diagnosis is like it's overdiagnosed. And yeah, I interviewed with them, and I'm actually working on finishing up that interview. The gentleman's supposed to call me this afternoon to get all the facts that we talked about together, clarify a few things, and he said it should be out in a couple of months, and that's exciting. And I have been working on an outline to apply for an interview from Wit Daring Psychiatry. It's a channel that talks about, I guess, the adverse effects of psych meds, which is often an indirect consequence of actually misdiagnosis. Because if you're like I was autistic and I had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, but I was misdiagnosed early with bipolar disorder. And then I was polydrugged heavily for like 10 years. And then when I came off the medication, I had no guidance. And those are the kind of things that Wit Daring Psychiatry actually covers. So I'm like crossing my fingers, hoping I can get one, but he doesn't pick everyone. So just been working on amping up that script, hoping could pique an interest.
Yeah, you've been keeping busy as well. Like
Yeah.
having one interviews. Um, it's pretty cool that you've been continue doing that and trying to help other people as well while doing that. Um, do you get nervous while doing those interviews?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
Mainly because the autism oversharing aspect of things. It's like, am I including what's relevant or am I making a fool of myself? Uh,
yeah, I know what you mean. It could be hard, like to speak to people, especially you don't know, you never seen before. Maybe is that on the phone or is that an actual in person interview?
So the first interview was a video call, and I think the one that I have this afternoon will be over the phone, and then the one I'm applying for will probably be a video call.
Okay, so it's not too bad.
Mm.
I think like everyone's different, but I think it's easier when you don't go to the place. When if it's on like this now, it's more easier. Especially because we know the autism thing about eye contact. When when you get interviewed, some autistic people don't like to stare. You know when they say eye to eye contact,
Mm.
and sometimes even I don't like doing it. It's not just the people in general. You know, looking into their eyes. I just find it disturbing. I don't know. I don't know if you do too, but um, I you just like have to look in front of you, not to them. But sometimes on different jobs or stuff like that, they say that's a requirement to get
Mhm.
the job.
Yeah.
But um, but yeah, um, there's all those different things with it. But it's good that you've been doing that, Cassie. So what I've been up to, okay, Kimberly's gonna say something.
Oh, sorry about that. No, I just wanted to kind of like jump into what Cassie was saying. At least for me, when I do interviews, it's better like if it's through Zoom or something for me because I feel like I'm in my safe space versus if I have to go somewhere, I'm like, I have to know where the bathroom is, I have to know where there's a chair and stuff like that. So, but that's all I was gonna say. But yeah, Mason, what have you been up to?
So I have, I've been. What did I do? I I went to a Comic-Con last month. Made some new friends there. I kind of I kind of like it at Comic-Cons. Uh, like get to dress up as well. And next month I've been asked to do this kind of go to this like center to do talk about me and like my autism, and I think it's getting made into like a little short film. Um, so that 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 should be fun. Um, because I haven't done something like that in a while. And I don't mind getting recorded. I have to sign all these documents like you do.
That's
Um,
awesome, Mason. And I did see where Comic-Con on your TikTok. It's really good.
yeah, like whenever I go to a Comic-Con, um, well, I'm gonna I hopefully gonna go to some more this year, but they are they're nice because you see different people from different backgrounds, different communities there. Like it's funny. People will recognize you for who you're coming as. Um, and it's quite funny that like people come up to you, say, "Oh, you want a photo?" And sometimes I go to them and people will recognize you, from like TikTok or something or Instagram maybe. Like last year I went to one and someone said, "Is this your Instagram?" So it is really fun.
Was that the first time you've been to a Comic Con, or is it something you've been trying to do every year?
I started going last year and like around probably around this time last year I started going to them. And well, on their wall there, that's all the people I've met.
Nice.
Well, some of them because they all can't fit, all can't fit on the wall. So, um, but yeah, they can be expensive though, but it is nice. Like you make new friends there as well. And I guess it's part of one of my hobbies that I like doing in my spare time.
Is it all based on like, because I know you're big into like Doctor Who, is it all based on like that particular show, or is it kind of like everything?
Like the one I went to recently, that was based on Doctor Who. It was called Utopia. Um, There's like I prefer to go to ones that just do Doctor Who because I like that show and loads of people there are there as like you have people that have been in the show. Um like it's really nice. But so say I went to one end of November last year and you have all different people from all different programs.
Really cool. I know I wanted to go to one because I'm a big fan of like the Walking Dead series.
Oh yeah.
And I think they do Comic-Con here, but I just don't know when they're gonna come. I'm always like nervous because I see it gets like a lot of people.
Yeah.
And after COVID, I'm like, if I don't have to be anywhere like that, I just won't.
Doesn't that series take place like in Atlanta or something a lot too? Like, isn't it like close to home where it's
Yeah,
based?
I
Yeah.
live, yeah, I'm like right here in Atlanta. So I know that I think it was like 2 weeks ago, there was like a presidential debate between Biden and Trump, and it was done here in the CNN thing. And like Atlanta traffic is the worst already. So now, like, imagine like shutting down certain streets. Like, it's crazy.
I was born in Virginia, but for about 6 years of my life, I was in Georgia, and I remember the Atlanta traffic. It's wild.
Yeah, I kind of binge watched The Walking Dead during lockdown, I think. Like a friend that I don't have many friends that like it or talk about it even. But I really enjoyed it, and they're doing the spin-offs now, and I think that I don't know if that's filmed in Atlanta still.
Yeah, I don't know about the spin-offs, but I know the main Walking Dead, they had certain scenes from here, which I've been wanting to go. I just haven't had like the time or energy to do it, but that is on my bucket list. I definitely want to do that.
Yeah, it's nice when you go and visit the locations as well. Um, because last 2 years I'd go to see Doctor Who locations, and what I'd do, I'd dress up, I'll go to a random castle that a few scenes have been in it, and then people recognise what I'm here for, and they'll notice who I am. and it's quite funny. Um, and I'll do videos about it. Say, this is where this is located, and this is the episode it's from, so people know. And I have loads in my drafts I still need to share, but it's nice. And I'm going to Wales. By the time this is out, actually, I've probably been to Wales, but I'm going to Wales in August. Well, no, not in August. In 2 weeks. What am I saying? Um, and there's I'm not going to go to many locations this time because it's more of a family holiday. But there's a few locations from the recent series that's just been on that I'm going to go to. I don't know.
Ma-
I'll take it close.
Mason, plug your TikTok for those of the people listening that are Doctor Who fans because you post a lot of content and it's always super entertaining.
Yeah. I probably post more on there than I do on Instagram, to be fair. Um, but I'll share it with Ty and well, to anyone listening, I'll share it with you guys at the end. I'll send it to you if you want to see them. So my TikTok, I'll say it at the end of the video as well. We all can, all our social pages, so if anyone wants to follow us. But my TikTok is alright, I need to look. I'm not very good at names. Um, I think it is my name is Doctor Who underscore cosplay underscore life, and then I just name myself on there Doctor Who actor. Because that's what basically I am. I just go to these different places uh, and do it, and I don't just go to them. I'll do it at home as well. Like but it's nice fun. It's what I try to do. So I say I go to a convention and there's a monster. I remembered the one I went to earlier in the year. I grabbed them aside and I said, "Can I do a quick video with you?" And they're really friendly. It's a very nice environment. These Comic Cons. Um, but anyway, well, let's talk about the vulnerable. So. uh, let's let's actually retell everyone because probably a few weeks to since we've all been here and stuff. Let's all explain what I'll just say what our chronic illnesses are, um, and just really explain it, and then we can talk about it. So, Kimberly, if you just say what yours is again, and then we'll go with Ty and then Cassie.
Yes, I have scleroderma, which is a skin tightening condition, chronic illness. I have Raynaud's, which is low blood circulation to your outer extremities. And I also have APS or antiphospholipid syndrome, which is like you can get a blood clot to any part of your body. So I had two blood clots in either 2018 or 2019. I cannot remember, but I was 21. And it was on the left side of my brain, which caused me to have two strokes. But I mean, I'm living proof that if you like determine yourself to like the exercises and stuff, I know sometimes doctors will tell you do this exercise and some people don't do it. But I was 21. I was determined and here I am. A few years later and I can talk, I can see, I can walk my dogs, which is the most important thing to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah.
And it's also it tells it's actually something that is good to say that well, it's not good, but it's important to say that not there's no age range to when you can get a stroke because maybe there's a stigma around that saying like older people just get them because they're getting older, and that's not the case, is it, Kimberly?
Sadly, no. And that was the hard part. I had to have two strokes to get diagnosed because the first one, they didn't know what had happened to me. They didn't tell me it was a stroke because obviously, you go to the doctor and they see someone who's 21, they don't immediately go to a stroke. So, they, it and, spread awareness for warning signs of a stroke.
Yeah, it's very important, and like to talk about that as well because not you don't see many people do talk about those particular things, and it must have been scary as well when that all happened. You can
Yeah, it was very scary, and that's actually why I started the page on Instagram, strong_self-love, because one, there wasn't anyone my age that was dealing with the problems I was dealing with. And two, with my different conditions, it's very hard. It's very like niche specific, but that's why I like to target to everyone, any autoimmune disease. And that's why I did it like self-love. I wanted to, widen my range. But at the end of the day, I do talk about my conditions, and I do like to spread awareness because on top of that, like the chronic illnesses that I have are really rare. Everything's rare but Raynaud's. Most people get them, but I mean, for me, because I had the other things, I've lost toes and fingers, and that's fun. I actually ended up having to get a trach last year, which was scary. Now thinking about it, I'm like, I really did that.
Wow.
It
It,
is
it,
good.
it's scary how like easy, serious conditions can actually be missed until it becomes more crippling. And I've often wondered, like, what would it take to kind of wake the medical field up and to help them to be able to recognize these things sooner?
Yeah, like I think a lot of things can be maybe avoided or preventive. If I want to say, I know it's not the doctor's fault, but it is at the same time. It's like if they would have listened to me when I would tell them these symptoms, or anything, like, or if I would have listened to my own body when I had these symptoms, like I know I could have maybe possibly avoided the second stroke, but I mean, it's just scary, and but sometimes I'm a firm believer that God doesn't send us anything we can't handle. So that's the only thing keeping me alive, honestly.
Mm.
It is tough. It is tough, but you're still here going strong. That's the best thing. Um, so I don't know who to go with. I always get complicated. Who should I go with? I don't know.
I
Cassie.
I
We'll go
say
with Cassie.
Cassie
Cassie.
because Ty went first last time.
Yeah, we'll go with Cassie.
I've been nominated by turn. Okay. We have an order that we have established. So I have been diagnosed with autism and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And because I was misdiagnosed with bipolar early and put on a lot of meds, I'm also kind of like psychotropic drug side effect survivor, I guess you would say, because I'm dealing with a lot of, I would say probably damage that I may not have otherwise have had, in addition to everything else as a result.
Hmm.
At what age were you diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos? Or I forgot how to say it, sorry.
I don't remember the exact age, but I know it was diagnosed in 2016, which is, I think, in 2012, I was diagnosed with autism. And so that was like, actually, 2012 was when I was going through protracted withdrawal. I was coming off of meds. And I guess the autism was just so clear. Like, even through all the side effects of coming off meds, it was obvious that I had that. But I mean, that's a long time, you know? I'm like, say 32, and I was dealing with a chronic pain syndrome because Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is basically your body doesn't produce the proper collagen. It's faulty. So collagen affects the entire body, skin, hair, organ systems, blood vessels, kind of everything. So when your body doesn't produce the proper collagen, there's a breakdown in the connective tissue. So you're more prone to injuries. You don't heal as well. And there's some weird things that can happen that like you don't have to do all these crazy sports and you can have like this thing tear over here. And in most people, they have to do all these crazy things to have that tear, but that can happen to you. So people don't really look for that. So it can be quite complicated. Um, so it's interesting because I was going through my records since the last podcast we did, and um, there was actually an evaluation stating that I probably had Asperger's, which is the old term for autism spectrum. Back then, it was still that. And they knew that in 2008, but I was like on all these meds. So they also still at the time thought that I had bipolar disorder. And in 2012, during the withdrawal and the rediagnosis, there was no bipolar rediagnosis. It was just ASD. And I guess what year was it that they fused um Asperger's with autism spectrum and kind of just, I guess, got rid of the Asperger's?
Let me look. Well, I'll just look. Um, being diagnosed. 2013.
Yeah, so it was a year after I was re-diagnosed that they changed the terminology. But it's kind of wild that you can like deal with so much pain and have so many like misdiagnosed injuries because of a misdiagnosis. Because see, from 2012 to 2016, that's about a 4-year difference. But I had gone my whole life up until that point without knowing and just living with symptoms that people thought were in my head.
Yeah, it is very hard because some people still identify themselves as Asperger's,
Mm.
um, which is quite damaging because like we said, they don't use that anymore, and people they are same in a way, but I don't know, autism's just better, isn't it? Like like it's just better all around. Like some people with autism identify themselves via autistic. Um, but yeah, it's hard. That's one of the things that's really hard to get diagnosed with autism because it can take years. Like I started doing this drama course today, and one of the helpers was autistic. Well, not was, is autistic. Um, and they said to me that it took them ages to even find out they had autism. So they got diagnosed when they was 22.
Hmm.
I think they're 30 now. So it ain't, it's not, there's good and bad things whenever you get diagnosed with something, like, like what age you are. So say you're 22. The bad thing is that you didn't get diagnosed when you was in education in school. Even though you are probably still in education, but a bit late on, you're probably nearly finishing it. Um, depending on, you might not be finishing it, but if you get, like, I got diagnosed when I was 8, when I was 9, and the bad thing about it was back then everyone thought autism was a really bad thing. That like you'd get put into certain groups, which I think is bad now. If anyone does that now, I would suggest against it because you would be put in a group of just people who need more help than everyone else, and then you would be seeing other people in the class looking, oh look, the helper staff are only with them and they're not helping anyone else. So I would feel like that's probably why you'd get picked on, not because of your personality, but because they're not getting help in class. Um, so that's one of the bad things, and I just got brought up to think that autism was a bad thing, and I was quite ashamed, and I was shy when I was younger. I didn't really speak out loud, and now I would, and I think the chronic illness like the Crohn's diagnosis, I think helps with that because a lot of things are very different. And you have that feeling you only live once, and you just want to do as much as you can. Kimberly,
So I had two things I wanted to say, Cassie. I have scleroderma, so my body produces extra collagen. So if you want some, hit me up.
All right,
Obviously,
let's do it.
joking, right? And to a little touching about what Mason and Cassie, what you guys were saying. Um, I know for me, coming to the terms to identify myself as disabled and not feel ashamed about it, it takes a while, and it comes to like the terms whenever you want to associate yourself with something versus not being like other people telling me for some reason. When I was first diagnosed with the stroke and stuff, and people would call me disabled, I didn't like that. But then, a few months later, I came to terms with it, and now I feel like a sense of empowerment. I don't know if you guys understand that.
Yeah.
Ty, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say that too, coming to terms with and accepting, like what your diagnosis is and if it's progressive or not. I mean, like, that's kind of the first major step, I feel like, to, being like who you are, regardless of, what condition you're dealing with. You're trying to always, I mean, that side of you is always there, but, you have to kind of merge all of it together. There's many, like, sides or parts of what makes you, but obviously, disability and chronic illness is, I mean, it's a big thing. And I mean, yeah, it's negative, but you can also find some things that you've gained over time, maybe that are good that most people maybe don't have access to. So, it's kind of just, I feel like it's a lifelong journey, kind of coming to terms with your disability and going from there.
Yeah.
Does
That's a
everybody feel
wonderful.
like, sorry guys. Does everybody feel like they've come to terms with their disability here, or do you feel like you're still on that journey?
So for me, I came to terms with it. It took a few months for me to kind of like come to terms with it, but I think that after I did, it was so freeing. It was like a huge pressure just came off of my shoulders, and I'm never gonna look back.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, I think for me, I kind of gradually did it, because I was actually diagnosed with muscular dystrophy around like 7 or 8, I believe. And, so you have this progression over time, that your physical function strength gradually, decreases. But I really think I probably came to terms probably in the last 6 or 7 years, I would say. One big thing was I actually had to go to ICU to have a gallbladder removed, and that basically advanced all of the MD symptoms to the point that I wasn't even able to talk or eat. I was on a ventilator, full time, which I'm still on a portable one, but I've regained, some of the ability to talk and eat and drink. So it's, I'm gradually like coming to terms with the new, it's always a new version, it feels like, of the disease that you go through. So, but yeah, I think now I'm in a place where I can kind of take where it's at right now and realize that's just part of me at this point.
Yeah. That's just it. The whatever we have is there for a reason, and we don't know that reason properly. And we may never know the reason why we have it or who made us have it. Like I know I felt this way, but when I got diagnosed with my Crohn's, I thought, why have I got this? Like, why me? What have I done wrong to deserve all this pain? Um, and I just don't. I used to moan about it, but I don't anymore. You kind of feel like who your friends are after, especially getting diagnosed with a chronic illness. It kind of determines who they are, and I got to that point where I thought I just want the people who like me for me, regardless of what condition I have, or if it stops me from doing things, or I have to have a bit more support than probably maybe my other friends who don't have a chronic illness, then that's so be it. I kind of had that attitude to things where I didn't really care what other people thought anymore, where maybe at the start I did. I did feel that way where I'd more focus it. If they didn't like it, I've got to be this way. But I just got to the point where I thought, um, screw you, screw you if you don't want it, um, or something. But I don't know. Did anyone else have that, or does anyone have that attitude, or have they never had thought it that way?
I definitely want to go into that, but I want to kind of go back and ask Cassandra how she has been feeling with, has she been hiding? I want to kind of answer like your question, kind of going back to it.
Yes. I feel like I am constantly trying to hide that I have it, but like I can't. And I'm coming to the terms with I can't hide it and I shouldn't hide it. And it's probably better that I don't. It's hard because I grew up in a family where I was expected to be more neurotypical. And under the misdiagnosis of bipolar disorder, I guess they were under the impression that I could be more neurotypical with the proper medication. And that's not what happened. So I feel like I'm just constantly kind of fighting myself. It's like, it's okay to be the way you are. And it's like, no, you have to hide it.
Yeah, totally relate. I know in high school when I just had scleroderma and Raynaud's and or before I became like disabled, even though I feel like I was disabled before, but I would not talk about it. I would not talk about my illness. I was a teenager. I was all into like, I think social media was like a big thing, and I would never show it. And so it wasn't until I had the stroke, I was like, well, I was given a second chance. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's other people like me. Maybe not in the small community where I live, but like worldwide. And, there was. So at the end of the day, I'm grateful. I could be a voice for those that maybe are not ready to share. Um, but I think at the end of the day, it's so important to like openly talk about it just because you'll find support, like there's other people that are like you or similar, and it's amazing when you find that support because you never know you needed it until you have it.
Yeah, I feel like there's like a side effect to that where it's like it makes the good people like nicer and more apparent to you, and it makes like the not so nice people more obvious. Like they become more become more clear, sometimes a little bit more outright mean. So it can contrast.
Yes, that's the only thing. Like you have to be super good in what you believe in and what you I mean, because there's when you put yourself out there, you're gonna get some negative comments or some people that you're like inviting them for their opinion and you're just out here trying to just live. But I
Hmm.
know there's also when I just joined support groups in 2020, there's like two different type of support groups I like to join. So the first one, it's like where we talk about our illness and it's really sad and depressing. And that can put back in 2020, that really made me more down in my self-esteem and stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, no. But then I met a girl through Instagram and she invited me to her young adult support group. So it's talking about like normal life aside from just our illness. So it's amazing. So you have to like definitely, trial and error, but you have to
Yeah,
be confident in yourself before you obviously decide to indulge in that side.
I agree. And I think that when you reach that point, um, it's exciting to think about what you do get to do. And that's being part of a community that accepts you, but it's raising awareness and creating a safety zone and paving the way for resources for people just like you in a world where that wasn't always the case.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where my life goes. I mean, at this point, it's like, am I an influencer? Am I a content creator? Am I into advocacy? Like, there's so many opportunities, and I love that I can finally be a part of something. Because, for a while there wasn't any options, or I was too young to talk about it or whatnot. But now I'm like, I'm an adult. This is certainly not going away. So it's amazing to actually find that.
I think that's actually one thing that's really nice too is that, people have this stigma a lot with social media being all bad, but really, for people with chronic illness or disability, it's like, I mean, it opens up, worlds of opportunities in my experience. And I mean, you meet people that you would never probably have a chance to otherwise. So I just feel like that's part of what makes it so unique is that it can connect, like pretty much every group that's affected by any disability or illness at all, and you can just form this collective, like community, which is huge to me.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at us. I mean, Mason's all the way in the UK. We're all
Exactly.
in different states and we're connecting. So it's amazing. And I feel like even though we all have different illnesses, we can all relate on one thing. Like, community is so important.
Definitely.
Because there's a lot of crossover symptoms. Like, even if you have different conditions, there's so many things that are just so relatable.
Yeah, like physical and mental health both too. Like, I mean, you can, find so many similarities there, I feel like. And Cassie, I think you were saying something about like was it ligaments or something detaching or muscles, something along those
Yeah.
lines.
Instability, injuries, more prone to tears and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I feel like actually with MD that's similar in a lot of ways too, because the muscle integrity is, compromised and it keeps, deteriorating. So I think, some of that has happened, to me as well. So I think that's another example, of links that you can have between different things for sure.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's really nice how you can have totally different chronic illnesses and but like Cassie said, um, there's so many similar things between them, and but it's not good, is it? It's not good where we had to experience this, but it's good that like you meet people who are open to talking about it because it can take some time to to even talk to one person about it.
Oh yeah. No, and something that I really, really love is that I'm a huge fan of dark humor. So the fact that I can joke about, just anything and you guys don't take it seriously. Like, a while ago, like Cassandra was saying, or Cassie was sharing about her illness, and I was like, well, I have extra collagen, stuff like that, versus someone else would have been like, oh, sweetie, no.
Hmm.
And I don't know. It's just amazing when you find people that get it.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I really like that because some of the most off the wall things can come out of my mouth because I'm used to dealing with darker things behind the scenes and they're normal for me, and everybody else freaks out. And it's just like, actually, it might be it's more beneficial for me to say them. But people who don't deal with that really just they don't, it doesn't, it just doesn't.
And what you could do if you have a friend that who doesn't have chronic illness at all, and you could kind of do it, play with them a bit and a twist, like take, say, like make it like you're being really serious around it, but you kind of you're being sarcastic on the side about your own illness, and then make them feel sorry for you, and then you're like, no, I'm only joking, it's fine.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It was like when you were trying to make it lighthearted, but it got the opposite effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's also the point where, some family members like ask me like, how are you? And to avoid all the trauma that could potentially come out of my mouth, I just say, I'm fine. Like, I just don't, because I don't want to be like a downer. And I don't know if you guys feel that or have been through that as well.
Yeah, I definitely have. I mean, it's kind of a default answer, like it's good because it's easier than going into all the list of, potential things that maybe are. It's like, well, overall it's okay.
It
Yeah.
it is better, like when you, especially if you meet someone new, to just be, so I've got this. Do you want to be my friend or not? Just and yeah, and then sometimes you can, I don't know, eh, you can have excuses for a laugh. So maybe you could get away with things, I don't know, at school or friends. Like just like if you don't want to go out, you'd be like, I'm not doing too well. When you maybe you are, you're in a good place, but you just don't want to do it. So the chronic illness is there, not to be a down all the time, but it can be there just as a thing to say if you really don't want to do something that you don't like.
And I feel like I'm the opposite way. Like, honestly, for me, I feel like I want to do everything all the time because I just want to
Mhm.
experience life, especially after like missing a big chunk of my life to medication and then chronic pain that I never got proper treatment for. And I just have to accept the fact that I am limited now. I don't have the same amount of energy. And so there are times where I have to prevent myself from doing all of the things for my mental health and for everyone else.
Yeah. Um. So, as you're actually speaking about that, Cassie, that's a good way to kind of finish. Other than advocacy, which it may not be, that there may be nothing, but there might be something. Is there something that you enjoy doing out of doing advocacy, like a hobby of yours? Um, we'll just say like a few hobbies of ours each, and then that'll be it. So I don't know, Kimberly, do you want to go first? What are your hobbies?
Um, just recently I started going back to the gym now that my foot is like 80% healed. But I know prior to that I just binge watch TV shows and I don't feel guilty for it. Right now I'm being a lot more active, but
Yeah.
for sure, like when I really can't get up or do anything, I binge watch shows, I go on social media, and I watch funny TikToks. So if you guys have any funny TikToks or reels, send them my way.
I'll definitely be doing that now.
Me
Yeah,
too. Watch
same here.
out.
Yeah,
My
you're just
friends
gonna
have
get flooded now.
I
Oh, say that again. Sorry. Talking at the same time as you, I want to hear.
um
Uh,
there was one thing on Instagram, I don't know guys you see it. I always see these funny bunnies or funny animals always on my Instagram reels, and I just send them to loads of people all the time because I just laugh at them. Um, there was this ostrich video a few years ago I saw, and I don't know if like any of you get like this, but I more laugh at people's facial expressions than actually what they're doing in the video. Um, I'm more around facial expressions, and that's how I laugh. But Ty, what about you? What about your
Yeah,
hobby?
so we're talking outside of advocacy and things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that's been kind of recent the last month or two is I kind of have some creative energy to kind of do some free form like poetry pieces, and I've been sharing a little bit of that on my social channels too. But like, it's kind of interesting. Years ago, I would paint, I would sculpt with clay, and make like little figures and all kinds of things like that. But then the progression of the MD kind of took some of that away. So it's kind of been refreshing to find some places that, are still a creative channel um, for me that, it can fill that void again, which is nice. So that's one. And then just kind of exploring around, the new state, obviously, like there's, so much to see and do. So I'm kind of getting into that too.
Yeah. I must keep busy doing that.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. because it's nice when you get to travel to different places. I find, especially if you've gone on especially a holiday that you've never been there before and you have a limited amount of time
Right.
to explore. Um, but yeah, what about what about Cassie? What about you? What hobbies do you have outside of advocating?
I go to the gym and um been getting back into video games. There was like a long period of time where I didn't do them,
Mm.
and I'm getting back into them now, and I'm just like, nah.
What what um what console do you play your video games on?
I'm currently using my sister's old Nintendo Switch.
Mm. What
It's been
what
great.
what games are you into on the Switch?
So I've only been able to really purchase one, and I've been playing Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh,
I'm
I've
a big
heard
Star
that's
Wars
good.
fan.
You like Star Wars?
Hmm.
Yeah, I love Star Wars. Do you
Same
watch?
here.
Do we all like Star Wars?
Definitely. Yeah. Wait, Kimberly does
Kim-
too?
Kimberly, do you like Star Wars?
So don't hate me, guys, but I've never, well, like, okay, so I've been on the Disneyland rides, but I've never actually like watched the whole movie. So if you guys ever want to like binge watch the whole original Star Wars, 'cause I did hear that was better than the remake. But yeah, you guys have to like push me to watch them.
Deal.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I like the Star Wars games too. Um, I have a PlayStation and I play, um, you know, the old ones. They used to have the Doctor Who on. No, I'm getting confused now. Star Wars, not Doctor Who. Star Wars Unleashed. It was called, and it was really cool. You played as this really good action guy, and but there's a new one coming out soon, a new Star Wars game, and I really like them. They're probably that and Spider-Man are my two favorite video games. Um, but other than that, I do like so I'm a bit with Cassie on that side. I quite like video games. What I do in my spare time. I kind of like action games. I like football as well. So I I go to the football with my local team. When the football's on. Like at the moment, um, like the Euro Championships are on. So England are in the final, and that's getting played this weekend at the time of recording. So hopefully they win. But yeah, that's one of my hobbies. Obviously doing Doctor Who videos. That's another one of my hobbies. Exercising as well. Um, I've been doing that more recently. 'Cause I didn't do it for a long period of time because of you know Crohn and lockdowns and stuff like that. So I've been doing that for the last few months. So that's mine, apart from doing advocating. Um, but yeah, so Kimberly, before we finish, you like your series, you like watching telly. Name us a few series or films that that you'd recommend to watch.
Sorry, I was muted. I love The Walking Dead. I love You on Netflix. I I love movies, so like any thriller movie. I'm a big fan of Scream. Um, I don't like reality TV. Like I'll watch clips on TikTok, but that's about it. But there's so much movies. One of my favorite movie is Sex, Drugs, and Other Things. It's with Anne Hathaway and Jack Gyllenhaal. It's so great. It talks about a girl with autoimmune disease, so that movie is so attached to my heart. But there's so many movies that I could name, but brain fog. So
Yeah, there's so many. I've seen you, and I think the new series. I think it's coming out later this year.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think it's supposed to come out in the summer.
yeah. Um, yeah. I'm always watching something different. But I try to watch when I have my lunch. I try to watch an episode a day or something. Um, yeah, I quite like thriller films as well. Um, because they are. I like the suspense, and I like watching them at night at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Uh, um, but yeah, Scream supposed to have another film as well. So I've heard the last one was a bit odd because they didn't release it Halloween. They released it like really early in the year, which I was quite shocked about. Um, but a final thing, guys. I'm going to give everyone the chance to kind of tell people where to find you and a bit of advice about raising awareness and how maybe other people could start to share their own journey. So let's start with Ty this time, and we'll go across.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm on several different accounts, but Instagram is the main one where people can find me and kind of my current content, what I'm up to. It's at Dr. Ty D Martin, all lowercase, and a period after the doctor. So yeah, if you want to check out more of my story and kind of see like what life with muscular dystrophy is like, um, while also bringing in definitely the human factor of things with all of us too. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Everyone follow Ty. Um, Cassie.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Ocean Lighthouse, and I have started a YouTube channel. It's mainly just goofy comedy and random stuff right now because I'm still trying to figure out like what my channel is going to be and where it's going to go. So I'm just experimenting at the moment. So it's kind of in the process, and I think you can find me under like my original name. Um, haven't paid that close attention to that actually. I just kind of like log in, but I think there's also you might be able, I can't remember whether, no, I don't think that there was a link on the SBSK video, but um yeah. So I think you could just probably find me under my name.
Okay. Everyone follow Cassie or Cassandra, as you probably might find that. Um, Kimberly.
I am strong_self-love on Instagram, and I also have a channel on a YouTube series called The Waiting Room, Self-Love Corner. I will send you the links, Mason, and so you can like put it in the description. But the waiting room is a wonderful place. It's a community of people with disabilities with autoimmune disease. So if you guys want to find someone, I'm guaranteed that you'll find someone with your same illness. And thank you so much, Mason, for inviting me to be part of this. My advice is just to put yourself out there. I know it can be scary, but I promise you, you will find at least one person. The world is so big. So just don't, I know it's easier to say than done, but like really like don't be scared. You have to rip off that band-aid and you'll find so much happiness, and you'll release that layer of stress that was stopping you from being who you are.
Yeah. We are who we are because we are who we are because we are. I think I said that right. But yeah, thanks, Kimberly. If anyone wants to, everyone wants to follow Kimberly, go and follow Kimberly as well. Um, and mine is my TikTok. I said earlier, but I'll say it again. Doctor Who cosplay is the life, and there's an underscore between each word. And then on Instagram is Autistic Advocate for Crohn's, and the same underscore between each word. And I also have another Instagram, Doctor Who is the life, and that's just Doctor Who stuff. Um, and a lot of my stuff if I go to conventions, I'll post on there, and I still need to do that. I haven't done everything because life. I don't like to post everything at once when I go to a certain place. I like to gap them out just so it's I have more to post rather than just putting it all at once. But yeah, and thanks to everyone today. Thanks to Kassay and Tye for coming back. The only two that did. So, thank you. Um, and thanks to Kimberly for being in every episode. Um, this series took it was talked about last year. We started talking about it last year, and we started it last year, and then we finished it this year. We may do it again if we want. We may want to do it again. We'll have to talk about that if we want to do it again. But it's been really good fun. The Vulnerable series because everyone's come on and spoke about a different thing. Um, like we've seen today with Kassay and Tye, how different conditions they have, but we all relate. And I think that's the good thing about the whole thing that everyone has a different thing and a different chronic illness. I think per episode, but some had. I think we had two episodes about autism, including Kassay, and it was. I think it was rare to have every episode having the same chronic illness, so each episode was different, and I think that's what's made this series really fun. Um, but thanks everyone today. Thanks anyone who's listened or watched it, or shared it. It's all really good fun, and yeah, hope everyone has a nice summer or is having a nice summer. Um, but thank you for everyone for joining in, and definitely we're all going to keep in contact still. And I know certain people want to keep in contact today. So yeah, it's all about making new friends. But thanks to Kimberly, Kassay, and Tye for today. And on the podcast, I'll see you in the next episode, which is most likely going to be in September. Um, not unsure what the episode's going to be about, but we'll have to see. But yeah, thanks everyone again, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everybody.